After Jesus ascended to heaven and the Holy Spirit came upon the disciples, the New Testament church was born. It was a church planted by the apostles and pastored by the elders. The church grew rapidly, and the world was turned upside down by a few church planters trained by Jesus and filled with his Spirit. That same church slowed down when the Roman Empire later institutionalized it. Ministry was taken out of the hands of people and placed into the hands of paid professionals, and the Dark Ages began. The Reformation was a time when God was awakening the church to its true condition. A few hundred years later, as the Reformation was winding down, a small group of people called Seventh-day Adventists began to grow like wildfire. These Adventists felt called to rekindle the New Testament model by hiring pastors to plant churches, train elders as pastors, and teach members to run and do the ministry of the church. Because of this, it quickly became the fastest growing denomination. Sadly, after Ellen White died in 1915, the churches began to cry out for full-time pastors over their congregations, just like the other denominations. The Adventist leaders began to listen to them and started placing full-time ministers over congregations in a district or parish. Because of this, today we have a church that is no longer growing at a rate to match the explosion of the population. We have a church that is in desperate need of revitalization. We have a church that needs the Holy Spirit and a shift from the institutional model back to the model of the New Testament, the only model that Jesus showed us in building his church. The Northern California Conference would like to introduce you today to a residency group designed to help facilitate your church moving back to the biblical model that Jesus designed. It's a one-year journey together with other churches on that same path. Here we will help you work through principles so you can contextualize your church's ministry and structures to reach the people in your community that God has called you to reach. In comes ACTS. ACTS is an acronym that we use to help bring you the greatest opportunity for success on your journey. The A stands for assessment. No movement ever begins before we assess what needs to be done and what we have in our hands. We'll use an assortment of assessment tools to help the members and leaders understand the gifts and skills within the church. The C stands for coaching. Your church team will be assigned a coach to walk with you on this journey so that you can have more opportunity for success. They will be helping you process through the ideas and plans your team is developing. The T stands for training. We will focus heavily on discipleship, which was the only plan of evangelism Jesus communicated to his disciples in Matthew 28:19 and 20. We will work together on designing structures that are almost invisible because they're designed to be just big enough to support the work of the ministry. We want the mission to be the focus, not our structures, like a trellis to a vine. We will also show you how a church can grow through God's moving as we do what God says. Finally, the S stands for sending with support. We don't want to take you through this whole process and then leave you to yourself. We will support you every step of the way so your church can become the blessing God has called it to be. This residency is a support for you, not a prescription of how to do your ministry. You and your team will do all of that. We will work through principles, provide resources, and support you as your church recreates itself again. We would like to invite you to apply to this residency by going to nccSDA.com/evangelism, where your pastor can click on the application link there to begin the process. Don't wait too long. Our prayer is that your church will be rekindled with the fire of God's love and light your community up with his power. May God bless you.